Let's put the Pomodoro techniques and everything to the side for a minute and go a little bit deeper. Hey there, my name is Martin McGovern from Career Therapy, and I want to share a few thoughts on procrastination and focus that came out of our group coaching call today. If you don't know what career therapy is, we help you navigate the emotional and promotional sides of the job search and change careers with confidence. And in our Unstuck coaching program, every single week, we have a group coaching session. And today, I want to get into what we discussed. We started the conversation on procrastination, getting into a lot of different tactics. One of the things that was brought up was Andrew Huberman's podcast, which is an amazing podcast, and you should definitely check it out. He has a whole episode on focus. The other thing we talked about, though, is how a lot of us are using these 3-hour podcasts and videos like this to procrastinate. So if you find, like me, watching an endless number of tiny house and camper videos that I'm never going to get a camper, so I don't know why I keep watching these, but they're just fascinating, the engineering of it. If you find yourself in this state of just utilizing this stuff to procrastinate or even productively procrastinate, in the case of Andrew Huberman, you might want to take a step back and say, maybe I don't need to consume more. Maybe I need to go a little bit deeper and do some self-work. Right. And so what we ended up doing was we said, let's put the Pomodoro techniques and everything to the side for a minute and go a little bit deeper. Let's ask ourselves why we are procrastinating, why we are struggling with focus. And I really think that there's 2 reasons why we might be struggling. The first reason is that we don't even know what we should be doing. And that one's a pretty simple fix. Write down your top 3 things you want to do that day, or 2 things, or 1 thing, and just make sure you get that done by the end of the day. That one we won't go into too much on. But the second one I think is a little bit tougher. The second one is you know what you should be doing, but you don't want to do it. You know you should eat well, but you just want to get a burger. You know you should work out, but sitting on the couch is better. You know you should apply to jobs, but that new thing is on Netflix or Disney or whatever HBO thing you're looking at, and you just want to spend the time looking at that stuff instead of doing your job search. I can understand that you'd want to do these things instead of job searching. They are all much more fun than job searching. Job searching is not an enjoyable activity. People don't, except coaches, people don't sign up to be professional job searchers, right? So if you don't want a job search, I get it. But why don't you want a job search? And what aspects of job searching do you really dislike, and which ones are okay, and which ones are actually enjoyable? And can you lean more towards the enjoyable side of things? If you find you really don't like certain aspects of the job search, can you find other ways to do those things? So, I'm a coach. I tell people that they should find people's emails, reach out to them, set up coffees, have one-on-ones. Sometimes this works and it's great. Sometimes it scares people because they're more introverted and they don't want to do that. So what are the other options? Maybe you can join a professional organization. Maybe you can volunteer somewhere. Get involved in a community that is centered around your interests and the organizations that you want to work for. That way you're not putting this huge spotlight on the one-on-one connections. You're doing more of a group thing, and it may be a little bit easier for you. So you could volunteer and get involved. You could set up one-on-ones. You could take it a step further and start a podcast if you're more extroverted in that way, right? Maybe meeting people one-on-one isn't your thing, or you're bored with it and you want to go deeper with people. Well, having someone on for a podcast would be a lot more fun than just trying to pick their brain, as they say, right? And so you can go even deeper. There's all sorts of different ways that you might be able to reframe or reapproach things so that the activity is not as, loathsome as you might have felt it was before. And you can see this with working out, right? If you really hate doing a workout, you're not going to do it consistently. So they always say the best workout is the one that you'll actually do every day. So what is that workout for you? You got to try out a bunch of things to find what is going to be sustainable. And this really, at the end of it, is what we're going for, is what is that sustainable outcome? What I tend to see in the job search is people do sprints and burnouts. Sprint and burnout, sprint and burnout, sprint and burnout. What I want to see you do is find what you can reasonably get done on even your meh days, on the days when you're not feeling good, when there's no sun outside, when you're just and you just want to watch YouTube all day. On those days, what is the bare minimum you can do to move your job search forward? Make that your sustainable baseline. Eventually, you're going to get bored with that sustainable baseline, and it will naturally get more and more complex. You're going to want to start to add to it. And the same with working out. If you go from never having lifted a weight to going into the gym and lifting every heavy weight you can find, it's going to be really hard to go back the next day or the next day or the next day because your body's going to be in shock. If you go from, I haven't looked for a job in 10 years to 20 hours of job searching, it's going to be pretty hard to come back and want to do that again the next day. So if you're at really zero, maybe an hour a day until you get comfortable, and then 2 hours a day, and then maybe 3 hours a day. Maybe it caps out at 4. That's fine. It's still better than nothing. It's still better than a sprint and a crash for a month, right? Because that's what I tend to see. And if you get a good baseline, you can add in boosters. Let's say your baseline is, I'm going to job search for at least an hour and a half every single day. I'm going to do these 3 things each day, get them done in an hour. And if I do that, I won't feel guilty. I'll at least feel good enough. And then on a day that you have more energy, you do a little bit more. You go for an hour and a half or 2 hours. You get a little bit of a boost. Maybe you say, okay, I'm feeling good this week. I'm going to set some bigger goals. And then you spend that week in a sprint. But it's not a sprint and a crash. It's a boost and then back to baseline. So we boost and then back to baseline. Keep your baseline. Only boost it as far as you can to not burn out so that when you're done sprinting, you can come back to baseline. Throwing out the same words over and over again, it's starting to feel a little weird. So I'm going to just move on from that point. But I hope that that made sense. Let me know in the comments if any of that was confusing or if you have any thoughts to add yourself. The key here, again, is to avoid sprinting and crashing. And if that happens, because it might happen, what we tend to do is pile on. And negativity is actually a really difficult thing when it comes to being sustainable. If we want to sustain our job search over the amount of time that's needed to get a job, we have to be okay with the fact that some days we are just not going to want to do it. And other days we're going to have endless energy to do it. And you need to allow that all to average out in the end. So I'm not saying goals are bad, but systems, I think, are better than goals. A system is a set of behaviors that you do every day regardless. A goal is something you get to and then stop doing. It's the difference between dieting and changing your diet. A sprinting diet, a crash diet, like when I did carnivore and then couldn't look at salmon or meat for years, actually, that's not sustainable because it ruins your long-term goals. But if you can figure out something sustainable, even if it's not perfect, it's better than perfect and unsustainable. So I'll repeat that again. Imperfect but sustainable is better than perfect but unsustainable, because what ends up happening is if you burn out on the job search too quick, you're not going to want to keep coming back and getting in the ring and fighting for that job. Let's stop beating ourselves up and piling on to what is already a difficult situation. Additionally, if you keep getting distracted by social media, YouTube, and all the things that I get addicted to as well, and we all get addicted to, remember that these companies have hired really smart people to get you addicted to this, the same way, cigarette companies or gambling companies also try to addict you to things. Just know that it's not necessarily your fault that these things are taking your attention and distracting you. It's not your fault because they're designed to do just that. But it is our responsibility to delete those off our phone. Like I had to delete YouTube when I realized I was watching way too many of those dang tiny house videos. And it is up to us to make changes around that. Like, what barriers can you set up? What site blockers can you put in place? I once had a site blocker that would tell me, get back to work. You're not an effing Kardashian. It's like, F you, don't look at this. I don't know, some fun site. So again, when we're thinking about all of this stuff, really ask yourself, why am I procrastinating? Is it because I just don't like this thing? If I don't like this thing, is there another way to do it? Or is there even a way to outsource it? And if you're still not accomplishing everything that you think you should be accomplishing, try to be a little bit kind to yourself, adjust your expectations, adjust your goals, bring them down to something that is more reasonable for where you're at today, and then slowly, incrementally increase them rather than doing these shots to the moon and then crashes into the bottom of the ocean. Quick recap from our group call today. If you're curious about coaching, you can always set up a free consultation at careertherapy.com. Happy to talk to you about the options that we have and let you know everything that we're doing. If you're interested in group coaching, we've opened it up for free for anyone to join. So head over to the website and click on services, and you can sign up for the group coaching and join these sessions that we do if you want to get a taste of what coaching looks like. I'm not sure how long we'll be doing that for, but it's an option right now. And if you have more questions or topics you'd like to see us create videos about, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And appreciate your time. Wishing you all the best in your career and your job search. Cheers.
Left my home for this story. It's no surprise things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made, I should have.